making a move to transform how income taxes are handled in Wisconsin, with Senate Leader Devin LeMahieu introducing a bill this week that would change our progressive tax system into a flat tax rate at 3.25%. Now, for comparison right now, income tax brackets range from 3.5% up to over 7%. Now, it's something our governor has said that's a no-go. Our political reporter Will Kenneally sat down with LeMahieu this week to learn more.
First and foremost, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So first, I want to get a sense of what's the goal with this tax reduction here?
The goal is to provide tax relief for all of Wisconsin's hardworking families and small businesses. So we in Wisconsin have 4 different tax rates, and we're in a unique situation here in Wisconsin where we have a historic surplus, and which means we're charging too much taxes to Wisconsin's hardworking families. States around us have flat taxes or are working towards a flat tax, and I think we need to make sure that we're competitive, allows business owners to move here, stay here, hopefully keeps workers here. Maybe retirees can stay here longer rather than move to states with no income taxes.
I'm curious too, so we know that initially in this first 2-year period, and my understanding is that will start in the year 2026, if I have that correct?
Correct.
That this will cost around $5 billion. Curious too, so understanding that we do have this projected state budget surplus, is this spending down that surplus? Is this going to be like affordable for decades to come here?
We think it is. That's just taking a static look at it, not a dynamic look at it. When you keep more money in the economy, you know, sales tax will go up, people will earn more money, and we think it's going to have a net positive effect long-term in Wisconsin. But that being said, you know, we have a roughly $7 billion surplus, which might even be more when we get there. And that doesn't include new revenue going into the next budget over that budget period. That's just at the end of our current budget. So we still have money left over to make sure that we're investing in core priorities, helping out local levels of government who are facing those inflationary challenges.
And so I know that you're passing this around for co-sponsorship right now. Have you talked to Democrats? Do you know if there's any bipartisan support for this at all?
I've not talked to, well, outside of the governor. I've talked to the governor about it when we had our meeting in December. We touched on it briefly. Obviously, he's been out there in the media throwing some cold water over the idea. But you know, when the state to the south, which is run by Democrats, has a flat tax, it's a little lower than a little higher than what I'm proposing. But even Illinois has a flat tax. They went to a referendum to try bring in a progressive income tax in 2020, and the voters rejected it. So I think it's something that all voters can get behind, or most voters, and it'd be good for the state of Wisconsin. So hopefully Democrats support it.
I'm curious too with the process here, introducing this as a bill versus putting this in the state budget. Why do it this way?
I think it's important to get the discussion started early and just to show that there is a pathway, that it works, to map it out. You know, when we work on like the transportation budget, we have a 5-year plan for transportation for roads that are going to be built 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So I think it's good to go out there and show that there is a path to a flat tax. You know, ultimately, I don't know how long I'll be in the legislature, but ultimately it'd be great to have no income taxes in the state of Wisconsin. But I think this is a great first step to be competitive, more competitive than 31 states around the nation with a new tax plan, and we have the resources to do it.
And so you mentioned the governor earlier. Obviously, he could veto the state budget or veto this as a standalone bill. Are you concerned about overcoming that governor's veto?
Like I mentioned earlier, we're in sort of unique times in Wisconsin with a historic budget surplus and including new revenue coming in to the state of Wisconsin. So, you know, the governor's going to need to work with us, and we're going to need to work with the governor to work on some of his priorities and to work on some of our priorities. So, you know, obviously he can veto the entire budget. He could veto this if we pass it as a standalone bill. But right now, I think it's just important to start the discussion on real tax reform in Wisconsin and what that would look like.
And I'm curious too, jotting down kind of the average household income in Wisconsin, for example, $67,000 per capita incomes, roughly $36,000. So that being that like the second to highest tax bracket here. When we also talk about the flat taxes too, it's usually a reduction on the highest income earners here. I'm curious to see if you have a sense of how this would help impact all Wisconsinites.
So I think when it's all said and done, 4 years into it, it's going to be, for the average family, it's going to be roughly an $1,800 annual savings for the average family. So it's real tax relief. It's real money into the budgets of families who are struggling with inflation, struggling with energy costs, rising grocery costs, rising fuel costs. So it's real savings.
Appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will be right back.